I'd like to call the October 22nd, 7 o'clock regular meeting of the Enfield Board of Education to order. Can you please stand for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance with Tina LeBlanc?
Good evening. We are at the end of October, and as we are approaching the month of November, November is a time to be thankful. I'd like everyone to take a moment of silence and think about all the things you're thankful for as we come to the end of the year. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Fire evacuation. In the unlikely event of a fire, you can go out the back doors of the chambers, out to the parking lot, or you can go out the double doors here to the side, down the first door to the left, down the stairs, and out to the driveway. I do not know, I don't think the bathrooms are ready yet, so
They're not.
again, like last time, go all the way to the elevator, take the elevator down, and then take the elevator back up, because you may or may not be able to get back in. Roll call, please, Kathy.
Mrs. LeBlanc,
Here.
Mrs. Pickett,
Here.
Mr. Ryder,
Here.
Mrs. Acree,
Here.
Dr. Kalnin,
Here.
Mrs. Cushman,
Here.
Mr. Janitis, Mr. Kober,
Here.
Chairwoman Riley.
Here. Okay, board guests for the evening. Youth vote is up first. Thank you for coming tonight.
Yes, of course. Our pleasure.
Saw some cool stuff in the packet, so I'm ready to hear what you guys got.
Yeah, so I'm Joel Sine. I'm the Humanities Director for the district.
And I'm Brianna Beckstrom. I'm the director of Enfield Kite. For those who don't know, that's Key Initiatives to Early Education.
So we are here to talk about our annual youth vote initiative, and specifically our mock election for our 4th graders through 12th graders that our students run and work the polls for their younger cohort as they come out and vote on election day. And we're excited to announce this year our partnership with Kite, who is going to be expanding the program to our youngest students in grades pre-K through 3rd grade. So we'll hit everybody now, K through 12. And as you know, this is a big year. This is going to be a big election. So, we're expecting a huge turnout, not just of adults, but to provide an opportunity for them to bring their children to the polls, to hopefully encourage more people that may be limited by that. So just some facts. Obviously, at each of our polling sites in Enfield, we will have a table set up off to the side for our students to come in and vote. They'll be able to vote from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. And as I said, there will be JFK students at JFK, Enfield High students at each of the other polling sites for the duration of that time, and obviously an adult there throughout the day to help them with that process. So everybody come out and vote, and then I will let Brianna tell you about what Kite is doing to support the program this year as well.
Thank you. Yes, so Kite has a grant this year from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, and it's a civic engagement grant. And so Kite, being the Early Education Collaborative, we were really looking at how do we engage families with young children, birth to 8, to access information, have the resources that they need, and make sure that they know how to get to the polls or what early voting is. So we met with the registrars, who you'll hear from a little bit later, and we created a few things that we've been giving out to families. So we've done some civic engagement events. We've created a brochure. We find that families really need to have a plan because some of the schools here are voting locations. School is closed. A lot of families don't know that. So it's resources on how to do it, what you need. But then we realized, too, that a lot of families who do need to take their young kids to the polls, especially in a federal election, the lines could be and are planning on being very long. So we got innovative and we said, well, what would help families? And we created play packs. So that's this flyer here. So families can register. This went out through Parents Square, I believe, yesterday, along with Youth Vote. And we're going to be providing age-appropriate developmental toys, gadgets, fidgets, and Etch-a-Sketch to keep the kids engaged so that their caregivers can focus on voting. Additionally, the opportunity to partner with Youth Vote, we said our littlest ones can also be engaged and understand voting and making choices. So we have a paper kid ballot this year. We're calling it the Enfield Kid Vote, and they can come in, they can come to the Youth Vote table, and they can choose their favorite flavor of ice cream, or they can write in an option, and we will tally it up with Youth Vote and be able to share that. So that's a little bit about what Kite is doing. We're just so excited to be able to partner with Enfield Public Schools on this initiative and be able to carry it to our youngest learners.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody has any questions or?
I am really excited about this. Thank you both. I am obviously a huge advocate of Kite, and I love the partnership with our students on this. And thank you to our registrar of voters, who I know we're going to hear from, and our schools for this partnership. I think community and school and civic engagement is, regardless of what party you're on, is something that I think we all can say is really important. So thank you for all of your commitment to that and making this about civic engagement, and all of what you've provided is really important. A couple of things that I want to make sure that I have clear. As far as this pre-K to third grade vote, fourth grade through 12th grade vote actually participate in which type of vote?
So they're going to be voting electronically, and the ballot will mirror the ballot that their adults are seeing. So it has each of the races, and it's laid out just like the ballot is laid out. So they'll go through the same process. They'll just do it on iPads, which allows us to tally the vote, and the vote will be posted publicly on the website probably the next day. So usually we have about 400 to 500 kids vote. That's in local elections. So this year, including the littles now, I expect that to be a pretty big number.
Perfect. So that is, I think, what I'm most excited about is engaging young kids in our this ritual and tradition of voting. And I think that's really important when you talked about turnout and having a plan. I love this flyer, so I would love more information on how we can access this. Is this also electronic?
It is, yes.
Perfect. Because I think having a voting plan and early voting, which I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit from our registrars of voters about, that is really important for families and something that I think is encouraged. Thank you also, Kite, for your opportunities for expansion and using grant funding. I think sometimes grants can seem scary, but in reality, they offer us an opportunity to expand and grow deeper community partnerships. And thank you for willingness to kind of lead that work and ensuring that we're working on these partnerships and expanding our community and community engagement. So I'm thankful. Oh, and just one last clarification. Youth Vote is from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So you can
Correct.
vote earlier, which I'm sure we're going to hear in a moment, but for Youth Vote, it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Correct.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Mr. Ryder.
Just a clarifying question. So, will your youth vote ballot mirror their times, 8 to 8?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's something we've all had to, the pleasure of standing outside at 6 in the morning, and sometimes kids are with their parents because they're voting with mom and or dad before they go to work, and youth vote is always 8, right?
I would love to say I could get high school kids there at 6 in the morning to start, but I don't think that's realistic.
I'm not volunteering either of mine because they would also hold you up. But all right, so just to be clear, so 8 to 8 on election day, both of your ballots will be available to all of our students. Great, thank you.
Go ahead.
I have a question. So I've seen a copy of the ballot, which I can't wait to talk to the registrars about. So on the youth vote ballot, does it get into the other parties like Libertarian, Working Families, or is it just?
Yep.
It does.
I mirrored it directly. Everything that is on the ballot is there. So,
Oh yeah, and is there both is there a one set for the 58th?
no, so we didn't
it's-
distinguish just because we'd have to have all the students' addresses.
Correct,
and that would
right.
just complicate
Right, because
things
somebody might
more.
come with their grandparents
Right.
and live in the 59th, but
Yeah.
they're with their grandparents in the 58th. Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
So, and I think it's important that they're familiar with all of the representatives
Right.
from the town,
That makes
whichever
sense.
district they live in too. So they'll see both races? Yes, yeah. What I didn't add, that I think I'd be remiss if I didn't, is this is kind of what the public sees. What they don't see is the curriculum that goes along with it that's happening with the schools to prepare students. So they're not showing up to vote, not being exposed to what is going on in the election. So we do that starting in 4th grade with our Kid Governor program, right, that talks about the branches of government in 4th grade, and then obviously our Kid Governor program in 5th grade with state government and the offices in state government. And then at JFK, we continue with a mini unit around election time related to leadership and civics. So even if they're in 7th grade world regions, they're going to get that mini unit as we lead into the election. So we're not just sending them out blind to say go vote. We're educating them on the process as well.
Perfect. I really wanted to say too, thank you to Kite. I can personally say that I did not get involved in Board of Ed or town happenings until my kids were in school and their school was going to close, right? So this engagement with young families or caregivers right out of the gate is very important, because what we've seen in local elections, it's the lowest voter turnout that has the most impact on our day-to-day lives, especially in education. So I love this family way of family engagement. So I really appreciate your thinking and your always pushing to do more for our community, especially our early childhood community. So I really appreciate that. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Brianna, can I ask a couple questions? Yeah. Okay. These flyers here are really, they have a lot of good information in them. Can you tell me where they are in the community, like where people can find them?
Yep. So we did some family engagement events at orientations, specifically at Stowe. We went to Enfield Food Shelf. I'm going to be going to Enfield Produce and Deli tomorrow. And then we're very active on social media, as we have over 1,000 likes and engagements and a lot of followers. So we've been posting little tidbits about the process online as well. And you can find everything on Kite's website, enfieldkite.org.
Awesome. And then about the play packs.
Yes.
So if you were going to reserve one, what's the process look like after that? Like, do you go and pick them up somewhere? Like, how does that work?
Yep. So if you scan the QR code, you register. We ask for your name, your information, how many children you have. It's going to be what your voting location is. And then I'm working on some email correspondence to let them know that they will be at the youth vote table. There'll be a registration for a checkoff there, so families will know. And part of our funding allowed for some marketing and advertising. So we were able to create retractable banners that say youth vote here, so families will be able to hopefully see. We also did convert the play pack flyers into Spanish and Arabic, and those have been transferred to families to hopefully create additional access.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Brianna. That's wicked good. And then well, what's in the play packs? Or is that a secret?
It's not a secret. This actually just got finalized in the office today. So we're looking at things that can hopefully keep their attention. So things like an Etch-a-Sketch, a fidget. There's going to be an election day scavenger hunt that kind of mimics our We Spy campaign. So we're working on that. There's also going to be a book. So we're working on that as well. So still trying to finalize everything, but enough that they can hopefully just keep their interest and allow their caregivers to actually focus on their vote.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I am glad that you mentioned the curriculum that you do along with this, because I think that's really important. And I just wanted to kind of give a little shout out. It was in my comments, but I think it makes sense to say it now. I know our superintendent sent out a correspondence around kind of elections. I found that incredibly important, and I think that's really important that we're making those connections to social studies standards, and it's about the process, it's about branches of government, and that it's really about our connection of our vision of a engaged citizen, and how we do that. So I think that's another important piece to highlight. I wanted to thank our superintendent for that communication. I think being transparent about that is really important. So thank you.
And I wanted to add, because you reminded me, on Parent Square, we posted the play pack thing on there, as well as the letter from the superintendent. It's on there. So if they need one, they can go to that site too.
I can share that we saw a huge spike in the registrations for play packs after that went out on Parent
Oh,
Square.
great. That's good to know. Good, parent score is working.
Piece of data for parents score too.
Thank you so much for coming
All right.
tonight.
Thank
You
you.
guys did a great job.
Thank you both.
Okay. All right, next up is Registrar of Voters. Mr. Kinsler and Ms. Tatro.
You don't look tired at all.
Yeah. Has it been a long day?
What number coffee is he on?
No, I would start by saying that, forgive my grunting, I've got a little disc problem going on. The people over at EHS are amazing when it comes to registering every year, having us come over. You know, just what we see when we're in there, the back and forth between the students and Joel and his people are, it's, I mean, you could tell they care, and you can tell they really reach deep to involve students, which. I'll start over. Yeah, I should know better. It's great to see Joel and his people who work so hard with our students over at the high school. In the past, we've gone and done the youth vote, the registration drives rather, and they've really shown a lot of high-touch care, talking to the students why you need to vote. Go get your friends. Remember, we talked about this in class, this type of thing. So it's kind of heartening to see that. We're here today to talk about the upcoming small election, presidential election. We expect it to be a record breaker. All indications are right now that that's what it's going to be. So we're expecting over 85% turnout. And we'd like to make sure you guys all show up to vote, and you tell your friends to vote. We have started early voting, which we're going to talk about in a couple minutes, and it's just amazed us, and we'll get into those details. But we want to just go over some housekeeping issues. Schools will be closed on Election Day, November 5th, and we will, however, have staff at least JFK and any other schools? Okay. So we've had discussions. We want to make sure that the teachers and staff avoid the areas where voters will be coming in, because we expect it to be so busy. We have a lot of elderly, a lot of people in wheelchairs and walkers and canes, many of which we saw today. And we always try to accommodate them with the nearest spots. They may not have a handicap sticker, but we want to make sure they can get in and out without having to walk across the entire JFK parking lot, or make it as easy as them to come in and vote. We had a meeting with Steve Belinda, Chief Fox, and the Buildings and Grounds people, so the extra parking spaces for handicap will be all set with extra markers up in the locations. And as far as Chief Fox is concerned, I know a lot of people are out there talking about security concerns for the election. We in Enfield have enjoyed a trouble-free history of elections. Other places in the country, maybe not so much. However, we don't just, assume. So we met with the chief, and the chief is going to take his SROs that are off that day and put them on that day. So they'll be there at the parking lots, in the parking lots, from 8 to 4, and then they'll have additional staff for the remaining hours. So anybody has that worry, they don't have to worry about it. Drop boxes and absentee ballots. So we still have absentee ballots, although with the early voting, it seems like that's kind of now the last resort, but a lot of people still use absentee ballot voting. They can be still obtained from the town clerk. You fill out the application, which you can get online or directly from the town clerk, and fill that out, and you'll be sent an absentee ballot. Please do it before it's too late to get it sent to you in the mail, and then fill it out, and then send it back in, and then fill out the ballot and send it back in, because the 5th, so I would say that if you can't do it by the 29th, then you need to come in and do it, and pick up an app, or have somebody come in and do it. The drop boxes are available at 3 locations, and almost 2 locations, right, since last election.
But still.
We almost lost one last election. As we were leaving this building at the end of the primary, an accident happened
cutting across Route 5, somebody came all the way across and went into the bank
Street, across Route 5, right into.
and stopped a foot in front of our ballot box. So it was saved. So we have that one at the Enfield Express. We have the one directly downstairs, right outside the back doors. And we have the one at the library. All three of them are camera surveilled 24/7. And. I'm sorry? Yes,
Just
yes,
the middle.
just the Middle Road Library. Thank you. So there's the three different ways to vote. And Christina's going to talk about early voting and what we've experienced and what we're going to experience.
Thank you, Tom. Early voting started yesterday at 10 a.m. Goes until November 3rd. Most days are 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. On October 29th and 31st, the hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. All voting locations do early voting in the basement level of Town Hall. Yesterday, we had over 600 people. Today, we had over 500 people. In August, in our 7 days, we had 277 people, just to give you a little perspective.
A little busy.
The line was out the door today until about 1:30. Yesterday, it was out the door all day. It was until probably 5:30 in the afternoon.
We should add that at the worst time yesterday, the time frame was about a 45-minute wait. And at the best times, it was about a 10 or 15-minute wait. So we're pretty good at line management, getting people in. But the Enfield room is only so big, and we can only fit so many bodies in it. And so if you come and you see a line that's out into the parking lot, that's about a half-hour wait to get in and get your vote in.
From the bench, it's a 30-minute, if you're on the left side of the bench outside, it's a 30-minute wait to get to the, so if we could get some of those play packs, that would be absolutely wonderful. I found a Dr. Seuss book about voting that I've been kind of passing out when I see a kid here and there, but play packs would be amazing. I also wanted to mention same-day registration. I never got the experience of going to the high school because I was not the registrar in June when they went to do the registration drive. But anyone who has turned 18 since then is welcome to come to the registrar's office. We can do same-day registration every day through Election Day. However, if you register, you must vote that day.
Early voting.
Early voting, yes.
It's a law. I don't know why. We don't know why. We've asked why, but if you come in and register between the 21st yesterday and the 3rd, you also have to vote that day right there. Where normally you can come in and register anytime you want, up to a certain time, but that's the cutoff and that. So everybody can do it. They just can't come in and register and then say, I'm gonna come in on Election Day and go to my polling place.
I don't know.
And that's pretty much it, unless you have other questions or
Questions?
concerns.
I have a question. So when they come and register to vote, do they then have to go to the back of the next line to go?
We
Everything's all at once?
expedite them. We take them right to the front of the line if they just registered.
Right? They get the
We tried it the other way, but they weren't having it.
They weren't having it.
No, so
Okay,
if you've
good.
waited to register to vote, you've gone up to the town clerk saying, then come down to us, and you've gone ahead and done it. It's taken you 15, 20 minutes to get through that. We're not gonna put you through another 30.
I also walk around the lines if I get a minute or two and say, does anybody need to register, to try and shorten the line, but it
Have you
doesn't.
had a lot of people register too?
I'm sorry?
Have you had a lot of people register as
No,
well?
it's been about a dozen a day. But some of them didn't know they needed to register, so they waited in line, got all the way up to the front, and then found out they had to register. So I go register them, or Christina registers them, we bring them right back to the front of the line.
Gotcha.
So that we don't penalize them for that.
Okay. Go ahead.
First, thank you. I know that you've taken on a lot of additional responsibilities with this early voting and changes in laws around all of these things. And I know you're compensated, but not nearly enough for the work that you take on. So thank you both. The other piece that I wanted to just kind of just ask for comparison, you mentioned you're expecting at least an 85% turnout for this election. What was it last presidential election?
Good question. It was about 73%. We didn't have early voting, and we had massive absentee voting because of COVID.
Yeah.
So we really have to look back to 2016 and 2012 when we're doing any comparisons, because 2020 was its own unique endeavor. But I would expect, based on what we're seeing now for early voting, we may see maybe 5,000, 6,000 vote early, which will take some pressure off at the polling places and maybe turn it into just a very busy election at the polling places.
And I'm trying to remember if my timeline is right, but is this the first time for a presidential election that D1, that JFK will be back open? Just making sure that if people are just presidential voters,
Last
which
time
we
this-
hope you vote in every election, but if you're
Last
just a
time at
presidential voter.
It was the senior center.
Right, so it's at JFK
At
for all
JFK.
D1 residents. Perfect, thank you again so much.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Ms. Blank.
I just want to say, Mr. Kensler, you helped my mother-in-law out last week, directing her to an absentee ballot.
Was she happy?
She was very happy, so thank you. And she charmed her way in through the basement stairs, which is not allowed anymore. And she went and got her absentee ballot, but she said that you guys had helped her, and she was very thankful because she didn't realize she had to go in the front and all that fun stuff. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all your work on this. I know my family, we're taking advantage of early voting. Lots of reasons why, but I think it's a great thing, and I know it's not easy, and even just the weeks getting up to this point have been grueling for you. So I will be seeing you sometime soon during early voting.
Thank you, Tina. So I should add that early voting is very busy in the morning and busy around 4 o'clock to 5. People coming home, people going to work. The slower times are that 2 to 3 in the afternoon time period, or after
5 to 6 is
after
real
5. I will say that the people coming in have been great. We have a system set up like you do at the polls, so you're checked off in a book, and you put your ballot in a ballot box, and then we have the added computer where when you're first checked in, you're provided an envelope that has a label computer printed on it with a barcode. And then you get your ballot, you're checked in again with the manual checkers, you vote, and then you get scanned out. So when we were down there tonight, the reason we walked in at 1 minute of 7 is because at the end, we take all the ballots out of the ballot box, count them, and then run a report to compare the labels. And we were spending 15 minutes trying to, why is one ballot in the 600 and one in the 10? Oh, that's why, because that person was a same-day person. Okay, got them on the report, they're right here. We reconcile everything, so it's very safe, very effective, and
It all gets locked up every night under lock and key. It's got a plastic seal that we have to put a number on. Every morning, it goes into the town clerk's safe so that she's holding on to the
and then election day, we get a big truckload of ballots come downstairs for us to count.
No, I really appreciate it. And I just wanted to add, and this is out of your wheelhouse, but the ballot is very confusing. I know it was confusing for my in-laws just because of the additional parties and different things like that. So the ballot can be very confusing for people. So I wonder if it's also taking some time for people to fill them out.
It
Any
is.
voter that is interested in getting help when they're at the polls can ask any poll worker to assist them if they need any type of assistance.
Yeah, the poll worker won't tell them what to do as far as who to vote for,
Right,
but they'll
but-
certainly explain the
Yes.
ballot. And it doesn't help that we have a candidate on there that is it's you don't normally see. You see Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green,
Yeah.
all that, and then you see the low gas prices.
Yes,
And people
I
start
saw
getting
that.
confused.
Yes, there's a low gas prices.
Yeah, don't forget about the question. There's a
So-
question on the ballot that it can be a little confusing to understand.
Yes.
Basically, it is asking, without quoting, it's basically asking you, would you like to have no excuse absentee ballot voting going forward?
Right.
Meaning you don't need to check off a box that you currently have to check off. I'm going to be out of the country, I'm going to be out of the town, I'm sick, I'm infirm, whatever the answer you would normally put. You won't have to do that anymore if you vote yes and it's approved, and they'll make a constitutional amendment to make that happen. If you vote no, you're saying, I'd like to keep it the same way it is.
Yeah.
That's kind of the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I have one more question, Dr. Jerry. I know you have a question. So when my mother-in-law printed out the ballot, there were 4 for the 58th district. It was 158, 258, 358, 458.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Online, when she printed out her ballot, like just a sample ballot.
Oh, sample, yeah.
Yeah, it was like there was 4 different of the same ballot.
Right. Every person that walks into the polls or comes to early voting will see their district.
Yeah, I just don't know why there was 4 different copies for the 58th district that printed online.
That is odd, because I didn't look at that, but I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, take a look at it.
Everybody will have, you'll either be voting in the 58th or you'll be voting in the 59th.
Correct, yeah, I went over that whole thing with her.
Right.
Yeah, so, thank you.
Dr. Callen?
I just had a question about people that are arriving and waiting online. If they're having some difficulty walking, I noticed a number of people with walkers that had to stand in line along with everybody else, and they waited. I voted yesterday, so I noticed that they were waiting for half an hour, 45 minutes. Do you have a process in place for identifying those people and maybe bringing them up?
We do. It's difficult because you have a line that's going, strapping around the hallway, out the door, into the parking lot. I can't wheel chair. I don't have them anyways. I can't wheel benches and chairs out there for people to sit.
Right.
But we do. There's a bench outside and there's a couple inside. So I'll take somebody out of the line and say, would you like me to have your father sit on the bench near where they're going to go in and vote? And then when you get up there, you can have them get up and go in and vote. That's worked several times.
Okay, so periodically you go out there to
Oh, yeah.
try
Yeah,
to
we have
identify those
3
people.
chairs out there at one point today because of the number of people that needed that.
So you never can get rid of it. I was out there once today. I swear there was a dozen people with walkers and that were extremely elderly.
A lot of their walkers.
And a lot of them said, "No, I'm
chairs, too.
fine. I'm fine. I'm voting. Okay. You got it. I can put you in a chair over there." It's a challenge all the time. It's way better than it was when that same person went to, say, Fermi to vote on Election Day, because there's much less walking to do to get to the poll, and there's much less walking in the hallways, and the lines are much shorter. So hopefully, this is the first year we've done it. It's gonna create a better environment for people and have more voters show up on Election Day. You're welcome.
Mr. Ryder, did you have?
No, I just wanted to thank you both. Mr. Kinsley, I know you've done this for a very long time as teacher. This is your first go-around, and I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the board. Thank you both
Feels
for what
like
you
she's
do.
done it for a while,
So-
though. She's doing really well.
That's right. But thank you both.
Anybody else? No? Okay. So I had one question.
Yep.
If you wanted to volunteer, like we have one of our esteemed board members up here, as a poll worker, how would you go about volunteering to do that?
Well, you call us or
yeah,
email
okay.
us. If you're on the ballot,
You can't.
you can't.
Right.
Right. We don't want to create an
But
image.
if you're not on the ballot,
If you're not on the ballot, let's say that Dr. Callen's going to retire this year and he wants to get involved.
right?
And your next election is next year, but you're not going to run. So in that election, we could have him as a poll worker.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fine.
And they would just call you and you would take care of?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
We'll even pay you.
Good. Maybe I should do that. Anyways, everybody's good? Well, thank you for coming. It was very informative.
Thanks for having us.
Mention one
Yes,
other thing.
go ahead.
If people could please not wear political clothing or hats when they come, we would really appreciate it. We had to have somebody turn their shirt on inside out today, and we've had people that have to remove hats and that type of thing.
So the technically, they've changed it 3 times in the past 10 years. Used to be any political you couldn't wear. They've now refined it to, if you show up with a MAGA hat and it just says MAGA, they can wear that. If they show up with a hat that says Trump, they cannot wear that. If they show up with a hat that says Harris, they cannot wear that. Or Carol Hall, or Bob Hendrickson. So if it's specific to the name of the person
Or the photo.
or the photo,
Okay.
she had one of those today, then they can't wear it. But other than that, you could put I love the ABC party, or, vote red, vote blue, whatever your thing is, and you can do that. Most people don't do it, but once in a while you get somebody that's trying to prove a point. And
The same rules apply then to early voting to regular day?
oh yeah, we had to he had to turn his shirt inside out today when she brought it up to him.
Good
And I had a guy remove his hat yesterday.
Okay.
Yep. So it's better that we don't have any of that, because then we don't have to have,
Yeah.
our job's hard enough without having
Yeah,
to
and
be
then we
the,
get emails afterwards saying, why did we see this person? And
literally. We had a person, we had them remove the hat, and then when they were over voting in the little booth, they went and put their hat back on. We didn't see it. Yeah. So we're not the wardrobe
We're
police.
doing our
but-
best.
Thank you for all your hard work.
You're
and
welcome.
the long
Thank you,
nights
guys
and
and gals.
days. Okay. Moving on to number 7, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Macchio.
Thank you very much. We're going to start off with our student representatives, and I believe Izzy's probably going to kick us off.
Of course. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I have a few things to talk about. Not that much compared to longer meetings, but we have a few things that happened today. Today we had our special speaker that I was talking about last time, our motivational speaker, Kendrick Moore. He came in, he talked 12th grade and 9th grade had first period, and then 11th and 10th had second period, and then our third period was our leadership moment with him. He talked a lot about competing at a higher level, feeling confident, and trying to do our best every single day, about like showing up, being on time, you know, that kind of thing. Liv was there during the leadership. We did a bunch of like activities with him, and we made like a commitment type of like ballot box thing. And then we did like, oh, I commit to doing this at our school, and Miss Clark has those in her office now. Next things we have coming up is Picture Day makeups are the 29th, and we have PSATs on the 30th. Also, we have AP registrations. They are open. They close November 1st, but this year is the year that you do have to pay. So the registration, you have to register, and then you also have to pay the fee. Except for people that are free or reduced lunch, you would talk to your assistant principal about having the reduced cost of the test. We also have, I want to talk about our student advisory board. I have been on it for 4 years, and Liv's now joining it too, right? I'm not. Oh shoot, wrong person. Sorry. Wrong person. Well, then I would like her to join. Exactly what I'm about to talk about. We have our student voices. Our application is just concluded, but we want more people to come in next year. We get more people like every single year. So I just wanted to put that out there. Our first meeting is October 29th for anyone that had gotten the application and they got the congratulations, you're in it. It'll be October 29th. We're doing it in the old Career Center because there's lots of people now. And on to the most important thing, senior activities. Senior activities, our class officers have realized or recognized that it's been getting pretty expensive recently. So they're gonna try and host a fundraiser to offset the costs. It's gonna start November 4th to the 15th, where they're gonna sell poinsettias, which is a flower, for about like $10. If you wanted a like paper flyer, I would see Miss Bender, and she'll have those ready for you guys. Also, our senior dues are gonna be around $33 for the cap and gown. I know a lot of people were asking about that, asking the class officers. So that's gonna be the prices for those, as well as senior superlatives, our final votes. The Outlook message just came out today, so I would go vote for those because they're gonna close on the 25th. And if you see my name on there, just saying. Our senior favorites votes also open October 28th, and then they close on November 4th. So make sure you're looking at your Outlook to make sure that you're getting those and then you're voting so that you're part of the yearbook.
Good evening, everyone. So as Izzy had said, there's not a lot going on right now, but I was able to attend the leadership little conference thing with Kendrick Moore, and I thought he was really a great positive influence to the school, and I really enjoyed having the chance to talk with him personally. Some senior nights, field hockey had theirs on Friday. I'm not completely sure how the outcome of their game was. Football has theirs on November 27th, and girls soccer has theirs tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. The ceremony starts at 5:30 for that. Afternoon conferences for parents are on the 30th after PSATs. National Honor Society will be having their induction coming on November 6th. And there will be a parent advisory teams meeting on October 30th at 7 o'clock p.m. And kind of the big thing here is every year Enfield High has like a volleyball championship thing just for students to participate in. to boost school climate, but this year it's being held in loving memory of an Enfield High student who had passed away, Megan Davis, and students will be able to donate to her scholarship. More information will be sent out via email to parents, teachers, students on how to donate on November 18th and 19th. So that is what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. You've already heard some of this, but we have early release scheduled for October 30th. We have the pre-K to 5 staff are going to be attending professional learning, and the JFK and EHS do hold conferences that day. You've already heard about November 5th. I think we've covered Election Day for this evening, so I think we're all good on that. I will send to you in the Friday update a list of all of the PD activities that will be happening on the 30th as well as the 5th. So I'm having that put together for you right now. Offices and schools are closed on the 11th, obviously, as we recognize Veterans Day, and we do have a packet with an invitation to attend and march in the November 10th Veterans Day Parade in your packet. Spring conferences, just a little update. These were not included originally on the district calendar, but they have now been included on the district calendar, so it's been revised. They are going to be Wednesday, March 12th for pre-K through 5, Thursday, March 13th for Enfield High, and Wednesday, March 19th for JFK. We are working on next year's calendar as well, so that will be an item that we have already incorporated to be included in next year's calendar. So we won't forget about that. And lastly, in terms of the overall Enfield Public Schools update, I've got a lot of chicken scratch here on my page. A lot of entry meetings is the best way to put it. Kathy sees me occasionally in the office or behind closed doors because we just have a flow of people coming in and out. A lot of different entry meetings. Still doing lunch with a variety of kids at the different schools. I was at Whitney the other day. Had a nice lunch with PJ over at Barnard. Did he even mention me? No?
He did. He gave a shout out.
JFK, met a certain young gentleman who wanted to introduce himself to me over at JFK. No? No mention there, obviously. Enfield Street School.
I didn't know if you met.
No, Mr. Ryder.
I'm looking at the two of them like,
Yeah.
who's going to fess up?
I was wondering which of our children let you go.
Right.
Yeah. No, it was Mr. Ryder's child. It was over at Enfield Street School, and then it's too bad she left because she looks completely different when she's not fully covered in pink. But I had lunch with Elizabeth Beckstrand and a number of 7th grade students over at JFK. Great times, love spending times with the kids, and they don't hold back in terms of what they want to share. Very good. I would also update you in terms of community events. I'm trying to not only just deal with the school district itself, but community events in terms of the KITE annual meeting was held since last board meeting, and I did meet with the leaders of the 2 parochial schools. So you went through that information. They were at the joint security meeting as an invite, and then we followed up with a separate meeting for the 2 of us, which was very helpful and beneficial for me in terms of the coordination between the district and what we do for them. Financials has been the other large piece of my pie, if you will, in terms of reviewing the nutritional services. You're going to be getting an update beginning of December. We're just trying to finalize the first quarter numbers to make sure we have them as accurate as possible. So we'll bring that to the board. And then, it's the end of October, so while we're dealing with this current budget season, we've already begun next budget season. So tomorrow will be the official kickoff. We will have an ADCO meeting where we'll be sort of presenting the process that they are to follow in the forms that they're to fill out. So that's going to all be starting tomorrow. Town manager meeting. Myself and Mr. Longy met with the town manager and the assistant town manager. We scheduled a set of meetings once a month. We're still trying to schedule out the monthly meetings for Mayor Nelson, the town manager, myself, and Charlotte. And in between all of that, there's been a whole lot of information being shared in terms of school improvement plans. So all of the schools have been presenting to Michelle Middleton in her office. Mr. Longy and I, as much as possible, sit in. I occasionally miss a portion of them, but I do make sure that we get in there to see as much as possible. And I will say it's nice to see the collaboration and alignment of the goals, especially across the K-2 schools and the 3-5 schools. While they are separate, there is clear communication happening between them, which is great. And with that, I would say that a piece that we will continue to investigate and look at is I'm closely monitoring, I would say, is the best way of putting it, some of our largest class sizes that we have at the K-2 and the 3-5 schools. And I know we're on ongoing conversations about what, if anything, we're going to be able to do because 28, 29 kids in a class, obviously not optimal. I can say that I've now been in every school except for Eagle Academy, and I can't really call being in Stowe Early Learning Center if you're in the trailer. So all other buildings I've been in and been able to see. As a follow-up to that, I did have a meeting scheduled and spent about an hour and a half with John Daig. So he was able to take me through all of the modernization work that you folks have went through and looked at in all of those pieces, sort of the multiple options that are available. I think that's incredibly important because it's, my first indication would be I can see that there's a need for some more appropriate spaces, I guess would be the best way of saying it, for student support services as well as just best practice classroom instruction. So it's something for us to look at. Obviously, that is a very long-term goal, but something we should continue to look at. And I'll wrap up with, this is literally hot off the presses. I wasn't going to tell you, but Mr. Longy twisted my arm. I received an email today at about, I could say that this is why I was a little late getting here, but that wouldn't be the truth. 6:36, I received an email that Stowe Early Learning Center, as you know, is an Apple Distinguished School. They are now an Apple success story. So I will say that I will send you a link on Friday because this is like literally hot off the presses. If you go to Apple and go to K-12, we are one of 2 schools in the United States that are being represented as a success story. You then compound that, the other schools that are in there, Canada, United Kingdom, Singapore, Taipei, New Zealand, and Enfield. So that is unbelievable when you think about the world impact that are being had. So huge congratulations to them for that honor. There's some nice, when I send you the link, you'll be able to go on and look, but there's some nice quotes included in the link, some great pictures of the kids. So huge congratulations to everybody that's involved with that. You know, Jacqueline, her teachers over there, and, you know, Dr. Wiley for all of the work and effort that was put into that. Yeah, I think that will do it for me. Any questions that I can try to answer related to that? And
We could do it in board member comments. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Macchio. That is some seriously awesome news. Okay, so we are going to do audience next. You have 4 minutes, and just state your name for the record and your relationship to the district. And Joe Golis, you are up first, sir.
Cracker. Joe Golis, 31 Stardust Drive in the town of Enfield, Connecticut, District 1. My relationship to the district is I'm a taxpayer, I guess. Former teacher. My comments are simply positive in the sense that the most important committee you have is the curriculum committee. You know, I went into every school. Policy, I just exhibited what I needed to do, and as an example of the policy. But curriculum is most important, and I think the 5. You need a what I call a 5x4 plan for all grades, starting in first grade or second, and that is science, math, reading, nonfiction reading, and writing. And you multiply that by the 5 areas that Enfield is known for. First area we are known for is aerospace. Second area is avionics and aviation. Third area is automotive. Fourth area is aquatics, and I'll get back to that in a minute. And the fifth area is agriculture. We have past and present all 5 of those areas represented in our population, and that's really who we are because we're surrounded by all 5 of those areas. Aquatics, when I was teaching, I taught oceanography, and you would be surprised at how many youngsters went to Florida to do oceanography. I think we should understand we are surrounded by 2 rivers and we are surrounded by the ocean. And I think we could do a lot more. There was Project Go about 10 years ago. Now, in my other mention, last time I mentioned about the legislation that talks about how an educator is a professional. And there's a whole, I didn't list all that's required of a professional educator. I will say as a teacher leader and teacher mentor, I will say how did I handle it, which is the best way to say it. Especially in science, and in science we handle any question by moving the student from, even from 5th grade, up to what we call higher order skills or thinking skills using Gardner's 14 intelligences, if you can. And therefore, the higher order skills, we want analysis on any issue, whether it's social issues, psychological issues, political science issues, or science or math issues. We then want them to do comparison, compare and contrast, and then we want them to make an evaluation. And sometimes it's a difficult thing, but it has to be handled that way as a professional. You expect a teacher to be as professional as a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, and so forth. You know, no matter how simple the question is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goals.
Oh. This is what Enfield should be. These are measurements. This is a vernier. This is a micrometer. We have a Snuntuck, which is the best machining school in the state. And I think our students starting in middle school, and I did it in high school as well, should learn measurement no matter what the measurement is. Thank you.
All right. Maureen Griffin, you are up next.
Hello, Maureen Griffin, Abbey Road, veteran of IEP and or 504 meetings from the pre-K level through high school. So I'm going to speak about tonight. When you get, especially when you're in the beginning years of them, you get hit with a lot of acronyms that don't mean anything to you. You get hit with, it almost feels frustrating, and it is frustrating, not almost, and can become adversarial if there's not a basic understanding of the limits of what can be addressed by the schools. Because as a parent, you're going in knowing what's happening in your home, what's happening in social interactions, but the fact is that the schools can only address things that are impacting the child's ability to learn in the school setting. So you, as a parent, know stuff that's going on at home that is impacting it, but it's not presenting itself in the schools. And that can become very frustrating when you're saying, but how am I going to handle this so that they do better in the school? I would like to suggest that the pupil services come up with a webinar that parents can access at any time that goes over the limitations of what can be addressed, so that, you know, yes, you get the little booklet that says these are your rights and all that, but if you're half the time you don't have time to look at that, you're under stress, it would be really nice to have something that parents could access at any time in chunks, if they will, that not only goes through what the limitations are, goes through the acronyms, the test names and what they're testing for. Because you'll sit there and they'll go, well, we're going to do this cognitive, this test, and you're like, and yeah, you get the list to sign off on afterwards, but do you really know what you're signing off on? It would be nice to have a reference that you can go to online, so it can be at your leisure, at your convenience. And also, at the type of thing that could be done is pull in other service providers just to give resources that, okay, this isn't impacting the school yet. Likely it will eventually as the child develops. But here's resources that are available out there, because it's hard to know what resources are available. And yeah, you get into the really deep stuff and you get wraparound services and stuff, but most people don't even know what that means. So it would be really nice if there was something like that, a resource for parents, so that they come in with more of a, like you posted something on Facebook about, pointing to Amanda, IEP, what it is. This is more than that. This is giving background, what to expect and why to expect. And here's how you can access other things. And that way, you're not having to explain this thing every meeting. And if a parent hears something in the meeting, writes it down, doesn't think to ask about it, and then needs to refresh, if it's on there, on something that they can just look at, what does this mean? You know, we use all these acronyms. I was speaking before the town council, and I meant to say FAPE, and I said FERPA. You know, the average person doesn't even know what the heck one is versus the other. But they're really important when it comes to kids that have extra needs. So there's a to-do list, okay? Thanks, bye.
Thanks, Maureen. Okay. All right, moving on to board member comments. Who would like to go first? Dr. Kellen.
I wasn't going to say anything, but Maureen, you kind of got me going here. Theoretically, the person that you should be talking to first and foremost would be your pediatrician. The pediatrician should serve as the advocate for the family, not just to explain to the family what the IEP is all about and what services are covered by IEPs and 504s. The problem is, number one, pediatricians aren't trained for that. And number two, pediatricians are not reimbursed for it. So we're reimbursed for encounters that we see in the office setting. So I think pediatrics is standing at a threshold right now, and it's got to change dramatically or it's going to die. I know that sounds awfully dramatic, but I really strongly believe that. And we don't treat the old conditions that we used to, sore throats, fevers, all those are now going to, emergency rooms and daycare centers or day treatment. They should be replaced by what's called the new morbidity in pediatrics, which is social emotional challenges, children who are having problems in school, developmental issues. Those are all of the issues that are really coming to the fore. And those are also the issues that we are sorely behind in terms of our training. So that is all changing, I think, and I hope, and I pray. The other issue, in fact, one of the nice programs that's going on at Stowe is that they are now bringing in residents, pediatric residents from the Connecticut Children's Medical Center to stay for a few weeks at Stowe and learn all about things like 504s and IEPs and management of mental health challenges. So I think that's a breakthrough. It's just the sort of thing that you'd expect Stowe to do. So the other problem is reimbursement. The pediatrician cannot get up out of his office and go to a school and sit down and attend an IEP. We're paid for encounters in the office, so we have to have an entire change in the way we are reimbursed. And there are all sorts of plans on the horizon, and they can't come soon enough. So I just wanted to mention that to you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalman. Ms. Piggott, would you like to go?
Thank you for adding to that. I actually was hoping to follow up after Maureen because I think that's a really great point that you raised. I think understanding special education is really hard to understand. I also think that it's information that everybody could benefit from, not just families who might happen to have a challenge. The reality is that's many families. And the reality is the decisions that we make and others make not only impact students who might have a disability, but really all students. So I think it's really important that everybody understands that information. You mentioned that I made a post. So Favor, which is a community organization, is hosting some webinars on some of the basics of what's in an IEP, like what is that process. I know CPAC is another organization that offers a lot of support around that. I would encourage families to check those out. I would also like to slightly plug, there was a webinar that was hosted with CSDE and Dr. Ketter from CCMC. And they're like a kind of a series of family webinars that are happening. It's actually happening, one's happening this Thursday. But the one 2 weeks ago will be posted and will be translated in 10 languages. And Dr. Ketter from CCMC totally understands whole family wellness. And I took away lessons as a mom listening to him for an hour, and I think it's just great information to have. So I think that's really important. I also think what you're referencing is connected to some of the discussion that we had in curriculum committee around how we're supporting our special ed staff. It's not just our staff, it's our families that could use some support as well. So I think that's an interesting thing to think about is like what professional learning are we giving to our staff, and then how do we also support families with that information. I do have a couple follow-ups. One is on Route 5. So I know it was mentioned in a meeting that there was an inquiry by DOT. I do wonder if there's been any updates on that. I know that in last night's town council meeting, Bob Hendrickson raised some concerns about high school students on Elm Street. I would share that there's high school students who are walkers who cross many state and busy roads without crossing guards. So I'm wondering if we've gotten any update on what that was about, or...
I don't have an update, but I was unavailable to go to the last joint security, and I don't think I can go to the next ones.
Okay.
There
No
was
worries.
no update at the last joint security meeting.
Perfect. All right, so if we could just maybe keep an eye on that, because I do think student safety, and I just realized I had a middle school family reach out to me that I know the walking distance is at least a mile, and we have crossing guards that cross them across Raffia, cross them across Post Office. I don't think there's any crossing guards across Steele, and that's a pretty major road. And just so thinking about kind of what are our protocols on that and just safety in general, I think it's worth a discussion. I love, Steve, that you brought up school calendars and spring conferences. I have been talking about spring conferences for a while, so I am super excited about that. I'm also I know you're planful and are probably already looking at creating next year's school calendars. November's really hard on families and this calendar and half-day scheduling, so just some considerations possibly as we're looking at building next year's calendar. I also want to thank you for your visits with students. Although my child did not have lunch with you, one of her friends did, and I heard about a little bit about your lunch. So thank you for visiting our students. I think that's really important. I wanted to thank you, Maureen, as well for your comments that you made last night at Town Council regarding our school modernization work. You corrected yourself and you mentioned FAPE, and it's also Americans with Disabilities Act that impacts school construction and accessibility for students, families, community members who might have a disability. Our schools were constructed before students with special needs had the right to attend, be included in, and what I think is potentially being proposed as far as fixing buildings would not really address some of those concerns. So I think that is a valid point to be raising. I think it's also important to note that security is not included in that fixed plan. So basic physical safety updates matter and are actually more effective than some of our armed guard security models. I do have a request that our Joint Security Committee review the updated school security and safety plan that was submitted to the Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security and discuss the various roles and responsibilities outlined in that plan. I know we've been having a lot of alerts about fire drills and lockdowns and things like that. I think for the public, it's important to understand those plans need to be protected. They can't be publicly posted because they are security plans. However, what is included in those plans are 5 overarching areas around prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery. We can't share those plans, but you can visit the Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security website and see the standards and the templates that are included in that. I'm concerned with the impact that our staff turnover and the change in security model and the reality that we are having multiple officers cover for when armed guards are out of our buildings, to know how is that plan being trained and supported. Having a plan is really important. Knowing your role in one of these situations and practicing that is critical. So I'm hopeful that our Joint Security Committee will understand that. If not, I'm happy to clarify my concerns and questions, and I do respect that that must be a confidential and secure conversation, so I'm not asking for that publicly. Moving on, last night the Town Council had a presentation on potential auditing firms, I think related to our school budgeting agreement that we had. I'm wondering if the Town Council is also open to having some courageous conversations about where we invest and prioritize our tax dollars. For example, I'm wondering if they're going to be closely monitoring the investment they're making in police overtime and security measures. I'm wondering if they're looking at the return of investment on that staffing. How will our arrest rates, our 911 calls, our suspension and expulsion data differ when we had appropriate classroom ratios, behavior techs, social workers, counselors, deans, transition rooms, and what do they look like now with armed guards, class sizes of 28 or more, gutted supports and programs. That's the reality of the conversations that we need to be willing to have as a community. Where you put your money matters and speaks volumes on what you prioritize and value. What's also concerning about the conversation was some of the questions and lack of understanding of basic school funding sources. Grants are not evil. In fact, they're the reason that we can do really anything around here. We should be thankful for state and federal funds. And I agree, I think there was a comment that we should be more actively potentially pursuing some. What town councilors and community members need to understand is that there's a difference in competitive grants and entitlement grants, and that legislation impacts funding as well. So things like alliance funding is different than both of those things. Those are all separate things, and we should be caring about what we're investing in kids and understanding those funding streams. So I'd like to end with some glimmers because I think that's always important. Steve, I'm really happy that you shared the news about Stowe. It's not surprising to me. That is my favorite place to visit in our community, and congratulations to them. Mr. Golis, I wanted to thank you. I think honoring our community's history and culture is important, and I appreciate how you described the role of facilitating discussions in the classrooms. That was actually connected to our curriculum committee discussion around some of our coursework. So thank you for that. I do want to mention the other glimmer actually came from our curriculum committee. I'm not sure how detailed of a report Jean's going to give, but we met with Mr. Wanzer, thank you, regarding the If You Love It, Teach It course. I want to thank him for his thorough overview of this UConn course that 10 students are currently enrolled in. They receive 3 college credits for a $150 fee versus an over $300,000 fee if they were taking the course at UConn. This course is really focusing on like the readiness of school teaching, uplifting and reflecting, K-12 theory, and teacher prep. There are thoughtful discussions that are happening there that are promoting critical thinking, and I think you described that well as far as the facilitator role of the teacher. I also want to thank those on the Jack-O-Lantern Festival, the community partnership that happens there. I think I might have seen just as many middle school and high school students there. They looked like they were having just as much fun as the young families. I would love to see more partnership with our families carving pumpkins. I'm wondering if maybe that's an opportunity for us to expand next year with partnership with PTOs and getting folks to carve some pumpkins and bring them down to the town green. And I think that's what I'm going to end on tonight. So thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Pickett. Mr. Cover?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So just a few comments for tonight. I just want to highlight that this is our last full board meeting before the November general election. So circling back to our board guests, talking about youth vote, early voting, same day registration, election day registration, and all that. Just glad that information got out there and everybody has it in front of them. I do want to publicly recognize the work that's been done by our superintendent, all the meetings he's having. As well as I just want to highlight our BOE subcommittees have been really doing a lot of legwork, and I know a lot of that's behind the scenes that the public doesn't necessarily recognize. I'm looking forward to, I believe it's our next meeting, we should be getting more of an in-depth presentation or analysis on enrollment, and then leading to some discussions on class sizes, and I think that'll be important information to look at. I do want to highlight that on our website as well, the district is currently posting job announcements. We're currently hiring. It looks like our strongest need is paraprofessionals and special education teachers. So if you know people that are interested, now is probably their time to get in. Talking about just some recent events, I was able to also attend the KITE annual conference on October 9th. I'm looking, and I just registered for, there's a CABE leadership conference on December 3rd. Coming up, and I recently did complete a walkthrough through the high school with our superintendent last week, and I do plan to kind of reach out and get into some of the other buildings as well, especially as we're having all these conversations about modernization. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Ms. Acree?
Yes, last Wednesday evening I had the privilege of attending the Teacher of the Year celebration at Prudence Crandall, honoring Cherie Winans, given by the ADK Kappa chapter. Mrs. Winans is surely a dedicated, loyal, and hardworking, talented educator in our district. We are very lucky to have Ms. Winans here in the Enfield Public School District. Again, I would like to congratulate her at winning this prestigious award. She definitely deserves it. I also visited Crandall on Pink Out Day and was part of the photo shoot with Superintendent Macchio, Principal Dupere, and the Crandall staff. Thank you, Prudence Crandall, for your invitation. I was happy to be part of that event. And I would like to also congratulate Jacqueline Valley and the great work that is done at Stowe.
Thank you. Mr. Ryder?
All right, so a couple of quick things. I have some school-specific things when we get to our school reports later. I was also at the Jack-O-Lantern Fest. I was also at KITE. I had a great time DJing the Jack-O-Lantern Fest for our families and our residents this Saturday, so I hope you enjoyed that as well. I was at the football game Friday night with Guy Barassa calling the game. Sorry, that was Thursday of last week. Lost by 1, 2019. Yeah, that was tough. And it got cold. And I know we have 2 amazing student reps here, and some are very close friends with my daughter and some are similar ages. And I know you guys are allergic to jackets nowadays, but please at least bring a jacket, because like as soon as the sun went down at the football game, it got cold, like super cold. I was fine. Guy and I were good. We have a little heater in the booth, but that walk to the car was very cold, so please bundle up for the football games. I also want to thank Chef O and the culinary students. They actually catered an event that we had at our work last week. They did an amazing job. And they also catered an event that the town hosted the week prior to that. So our kids aren't just baking for themselves or cooking at school. They're actually getting out and about and doing a lot of things in our community. And I think that's fantastic. So I want to recognize Chef O and our culinary students for that. Also, townwide 5th grade dance is this Friday. It's in the Enfield Youth Center, which is on the first floor of Elkhorn. So right here on Route 5, which is our central office, but on the first floor in the back, there's a gymnasium, and there'll be a 5th grade dance. Price is $5 at the door, and they'll have snacks and waters there for the kids. I believe it's 6 to 8, but I know it is this Friday. $5 at the door at Elkhorn. And I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lang?
Just a couple things. I want to thank Mr. Golis for coming out this evening and sharing some history. And I have to ask you, is that at the periodic table on your tie? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. I told you I had Mr. Cherry. I'm never going to forget the periodic table. Ms. Griffin, thank you for coming out tonight. I think having the insight of a parent of kids that had an IEP and a 504 is really insightful. And I think it helps other parent support. So I appreciate you coming out and sharing your thoughts and suggestions on ways we can improve. So I appreciate that. Dr. Jerry, your insight on this board has been nothing short of amazing in the 3 years that I've sat up here with you. So I appreciate your insight and your talk of what pediatricians are seeing in their offices now. And, it kind of goes hand in hand to what we're seeing in our classrooms. So I appreciate your insight on that. I did attend the Kite annual dinner, and I'm sure everybody is always in awe of the amazing work that Kite does for the town of Enfield in our early childhood education. I want to first congratulate the Stowe Early Learning Center and Jackie Valley and her tiny humans, as she calls them, and all the staff. They're amazing. I had the privilege of sitting on this board when that was just a glimmer in the eyes. I believe Charlotte was here too. It just became a glimmer in the eye of Enfield, and we always knew it was going to be fabulous, right? But we never knew it could be this fabulous, but we shouldn't be surprised anyway. So congratulations to Stowe Early Learning. Mr. Macchio, I did want to thank you for your updates every week. I really appreciate them. I'm loving seeing all the entry meetings, the staffing updates, your attendance at the subcommittee meetings. I appreciate all the work you're doing. I know it's also trying to run the district and get your feet wet is a challenge, but you're taking this head on, and I really appreciate all your work on that. Lizzie and Izzy and Olivia, I just wanted to thank you for your comments 2 weeks ago. I know I thanked you personally, and I thanked your mom, and I thanked your dad. Student voice is extremely important. I believe in it. I want to apologize for the community and for elected officials saying that students were used as pawns during the budget time. I just believe people don't take the time or consider just how amazing the young adults in Enfield Public Schools are. And so I appreciate your voices, and I will always appreciate your voices. So I look forward to serving with you and hearing what else you have to offer to the Board of Education. I wanted to talk a little bit about the School Modernization Committee. I heard from the minority leader, Councilor Santinella, that the town council had a leadership meeting, and Mayor Nelson said he doesn't have any of the information that was presented by John Daig. So I sent the information to Councilor Santinella, who has now shared that with the entire town council as of this evening. But I just kind of wanted to fact check a couple of things. So we had a meeting on, let me get to my notes. We first had a meeting on April 5th to discuss the new plan of the potential of going back to K through 5 in the school modernization, April 5th of 2023. I have the meeting minutes here, and I just want to let you know who was in attendance. I'm not going to mention the other counselors that are no longer elected officials, but it was the entire board, obviously minus our new elected officials, and it was Councilor Ludwig, Councilor Mangini, Councilor Nelson, Councilor Pisner, Councilor Santinella, Councilor Ungleier, and at the time it was Deputy Mayor Sakala and Mayor Crisati. And we had that first presentation, and we decided how we were going to go back K through 5. These meeting minutes can be found online. I'll just point out a few things. Councilor Pisner thanked the members of the committee, as stating that education is the greatest gift we can give to our kids. When you are picking up your child, there are security issues at the schools. We need to put our kids first. Having a good school system is a starting point for your community, and it's what drives people to Enfield to live and raise a family. She applauded the committee members for their efforts and looks forward to working on more. I went through a few other comments, and I think that's where I left it. I just wanted to highlight a few of those. So then again, we met September 26th for another presentation, and in attendance were Gina Sakala, Bob Crisati, Mike Ludwig, Cindy Mangini, Ken Nelson, Marie Pisner, John Santinella, and Lori Ungeier. And John Day gave the entire presentation. Okay, and it's actually on the Enfield Public Schools website. It says feasibility presentation to Town Council and Board of Ed. So he went through the whole feasibility study with Ms. Pickett adding that it would cost approximately $100 million to repair our schools, just to Band-Aid our schools with no reimbursements. We would get some, but we wouldn't get a lot of reimbursement. It would be a capital improvement project hugely on the taxpayers. Some of the other committee members presented, and then at the time, Councilor Nelson, Mayor Nelson, stated that at $180 million, Enfield taxpayers will be responsible for approximately $62 million. We currently have several bonding projects on the books. What will it take for the town council to fund the $62 million referendum? He would love to say this is a no-brainer. And that $62 million is a big discussion for the town council members. So I just want to point out that the minutes say that we talked about $180 million and not $240 million, because I'm not really sure why that number is getting thrown around. So I wanted to kind of point that out. Councilor Nelson, too, said he supported this project and wants it to pass. He also agreed about the plans for using the schools, and Hazardville Memorial would be a nice park. Mark Twain is full, and there's a waiting list. He would also like to get this done sooner rather than later. So those are a few updates from that meeting. We also had a few more meetings. So on February 1st, 2024, you can go ahead and look at our calendars. There was a Town Council / Board of Ed leadership meeting to discuss the Pre-K through 5 Modernization Committee update. And John Day once again presented that feasibility study to us. And in attendance to that was Mr. Ryder, me, yourself, Chairwoman Riley, Ken Nelson, Marie Pisner, and John Santinella. And then again, on August 29th, that same feasibility study was presented to the Joint Facilities Committee, which again, you were in attendance, Mr. Ryder, myself, Jim Nasuda, Bob Crisati, Gina Sakala. So Deputy Mayor Pisner was at that meeting, and they had asked for another copy of the feasibility study, which was then sent. I checked that was sent on August 29th by Mr. Dagg to the committee. It didn't go to Deputy Mayor Pisner, but it went to Mayor Nelson. So there is plenty of times that the town council has gotten this information for the school modernization. You can also go to our Enfield Public Schools website under community, and it has all the overviews, and it has all of our presentations with all the numbers. What 3 new schools, renovate to new, constraints. I mean, it even talks about, next steps on how it would take the current town leadership to decide the next steps, because we're kind of wondering why all this is stalling. I actually appreciate you, Chairwoman Riley, mentioning that there does have to be Board of Ed representation on any type of committee in order to get the state reimbursement. There is also another presentation, both the town council has gotten them again, which talks about the scope of the feasibility, the renovate to new reimbursement, items that aren't going to be considered if we just go ahead and Band-Aid the schools, which is ADA compliance, HVAC, required program spaces. I mean, this information is completely done. We also have the facility condition analysis by school by urgency, and then the estimate of it being $42 million, but this was back in 2023, so we know the costs have gone up. And then talking about how just Band-Aiding our buildings could reach $100 million with all the other information that would raise it, like especially like we know we are looking at abatement issues in all of our buildings, ventilation, air conditioning, school security, special program rooms, unplanned mediation. None of those would be included in the taxpayers' dollars, and that's trying to get up to there would be $100 million. So I just thought facts are facts, and the town council has been to numerous meetings. Poor John Daig can probably recite this in his sleep, as I know he spent time with Mr. Macchio explaining it over and over again. So I'm not accepting the fact that people do not have the appropriate information. They have the appropriate information. We have the meeting minutes, we have presentations, we have emails, we have meetings on our calendars. There is no excuses to this. I would also like to add that if the town council makes a decision about tipper barrels or sewers or roads, I'm not going to talk about it here because that's not our wheelhouse. That's why I'm here. I'm here for education, right? So it is my purview that when the town council makes decisions that are impacting our students in our buildings, because those buildings are ours when the students are in them, I am going to be speaking about it at our Board of Ed meetings. This is a long-term investment for the community. It is an investment for the taxpayers. It will save the taxpayers money. It will bring people to this town. It will give us much needed program space. We will be able to regionalize services. I don't even have kids in the school district anymore. And I think that this is a fabulous plan for the students, the families, and the town of Enfield. So with that being said, again, I'm not going to take that people don't have their information. They do. And I appreciate Councilor Santinella pointing that out to me. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna go then. So just piggybacking off of what Tina just went over, I was re-looking at some of the modernization things, and I'm hoping that maybe John Daig could get us a list of, so yeah, it's on. I'm hoping that John Daig could maybe in his free time, which is non-existent, but I think he already has it listed out, and I would just like to be able to see it, and maybe the board members could have it, is what is on that high needs list that's like right away, things, and even the moderate, because there was like a severe and a moderate and a low priority. And then I was looking at that, but it had just like prices and stuff. It didn't like go into specifics like, hey, at Henry Barnard, you need X, Y, and Z, or.
So he said, yeah, urgent.
I know he has it.
Yeah, he said urgent
again.
priority, like urgent priority are components that include code, health, and life safety issues that need to be addressed as soon as possible. Right.
But if we had I know he has the list, but if he could send it to us again of what those exact items are,
So the current
that
board
would
can
be.
be brought up this week.
Right, yep.
Right,
So
that
we
makes
can all
sense.
know exactly where those high need things are in our schools, because they're high needs for a reason. They're high priority items. So that would be cool to get. And then I wanted to thank Maureen for her ideas coming up, because been there, done that, still do it. You know, they go through acronyms all the time when we're in our IEP meetings, and I go back and I try to research it. So it's a very difficult thing to navigate, and I'm glad that Dr. Callan brought it up, because you should be talking to your pediatrician, or if your child goes to a therapist, that's good to have too for backup. And, you know, it's tough to navigate the mental health arena just in general. So if we had some, maybe we could get the links that Amanda had brought up, and maybe we could put them on, you know, maybe a website or something, as extra informational items for parents trying to navigate a special education system. That would be good. And then to Mr. Golis' point, when you brought up the vernier calipers and things, I can tell you with 100% that they definitely do that in JFK because my son is in the CAD program. And one of their very first things that they this year was they had to use those instruments to make measurements to remake and translate a Lego into a 3D print of it. And so they used all those instruments because he came home and he was like, Dad, I saw the instruments that you use when you go to work at Pratt Whitney. We use them in class. So I thought they definitely do use those things. So this is great. I wanted to thank Mr. Macchio for getting on the commissioner in regards to where the Alliance District may or may not take us. He's definitely been on it. I've been on some emails in the background, and he's trying to set up a meeting to speak about what our future could be for Alliance funding. So thank you very much for getting on that and staying on that. And then I just wanted to bring up that Friday was Pink Out Day. I wore my shirt today. And I just wanted to thank everybody who participated in it and raised funds for the American Cancer Society. I saw all the Enfield Public School photos, and it really just made me feel good inside. You know, it's stuff like that that makes our community a good place to be and live in, when everybody collectively is supporting a cause that affects so many people, and we're all doing it so enthusiastically. Maybe it meant so much to me because my mom has been fighting cancer for 20 plus years now. And to see a sea of pink in Enfield on Friday, and knowing that people are donating to help those battling such a horrendous thing, that was really awesome. It's a light of hope in the not so great times that everybody's going through right now. I wanted to shout out to Prudence Crandall. Thank you for hooking me up with the Pink Out Day shirt. I actually wore it yesterday when I went and got my mammogram. So, ladies, here's your reminder. If you're of that certain appropriate age to go get one, please go get your mammogram. They gave me this. The best protection is early detection, and we need all you lovely ladies to stick around for the long run. So that was all I had for comments tonight. Anybody else? We're good? Okay. All right, moving along. Is unfinished business. We have none. New business. We have discussion and action regarding the 2025 schedule of regular meetings. So basically, Kathy put together a schedule of regular meetings for the 2025 year. And what was really great is that for the meetings of June, July, and August, there's an asterisk next to them to say that those meetings will begin at 5 to avoid any conflicts with the summer concert series. So we won't even have to vote to change the times moving forward. So I will need a motion to approve the Board of Ed schedule of regular meetings for 2025.
So moved.
Motion made by Dr. Kalman.
Second.
Second by Ms. Acree. Is there any discussion? Okay, sensing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mrs. Acree?
Yes.
Dr. Kalman?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. Kober?
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Our last curriculum meeting was held on October 17th. In attendance at that meeting was John Daig and Gray Wanzer. Mr. Wanzer gave the committee an overview of the course, If You Love It, Teach It. He discussed the syllabus, the major themes, the units of study of the course, essential questions. So the course is all about teacher preparation and reflection. Also, Ms. Middleton shared updates on supports for special education teachers from Julie Carroll. For example, some of the supports are monthly department meetings, pairing new and veteran special education teachers, making sure that the special ed teachers have instructional supplies and materials needed, professional learning throughout the year. And the next curriculum meeting will be held on November 21st.
I just wanted to piggyback. I had mentioned the ECE course, and I just wanted to thank Julie Carroll and Michelle Middleton for their presentation on the special ed staffing, professional learning, and support. That was a question that I had asked about, and I appreciated their overview of that. I do have a couple follow-up questions that I don't expect any answers to, but just some things to consider. One is, I know that we contract for a lot of our services. And my wondering is about how are they included in professional learning and kind of collaborative support with our EPS staff, in particular the BCBA and their role, and thinking about kind of how they're scheduled at our buildings and the reality of the programming that we have built so we can keep students here in our district, and just looking at, does that need maybe better served by an in-house BCBA that could support our students. And I'm sure that is along with some other roles that we have as well, because I think we outsource actually quite a bit of some of our special ed supports and services. My other wondering is about training for our behavior techs and looking at getting folks certified. I know there's like some supports through CSCE around kind of those certifications and kind of qualifications. That might be kind of something that we want to consider, especially around capacity and ensuring that we have the most trained and supportive staff. And then my last thing is really, again, I think the reality is everybody's taking on more, and I think that's just a reality. But I know, and I mentioned this in the meeting, but I do want to just follow up with a consideration about how we are supporting our special ed staff with some of that increasing workload coverage of administrative duties, attending PPTs, ensuring that they are getting prep time and coverage, and potentially some additional support during that kind of new transition of tasks that they need to take on. So I have really appreciated the curriculum subcommittee. I think there's robust and awesome conversation that's happening there. I will also say that I selfishly wish some of those subcommittee meetings could be taped, because I think there's some really great dialogue that happens there that the public could see. So thank you to that subcommittee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Finance and Budget Committee has not met since the last meeting. There are some ongoing conversations between myself, the superintendent, and the business manager, just regarding maybe some other things that we would like to handle on that committee and information that we'd like to receive. The next regular meeting, or the next meeting, will be a special meeting due to a change date, so it'll be Tuesday, November 12th at 5:30 p.m. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is that, as the finance chair, is that information you're going to be sharing with the other subcommittee meeting? Like, you're having conversations, but you're not including the subcommittee, all the subcommittee members?
So we're just talking like agenda items currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you
it's
for
not,
clarifying.
we're not making decisions. We're talking about what we want to see on the agenda and business manager report type stuff. So
Okay, thank you.
procedural at this
Yep.
stage.
Thank you.
Our most recent policy meeting was quite the marathon meeting. So I just wanted to thank our fellow committee members, Mr. Kober, Mr. Ryder, Chairwoman Riley, Mr. Degg, and Superintendent Macchia. We had some really great discussions, really just about just some new things that were in terms of making our budget process more transparent. And so we just have had discussions about revising the preparation of the budget, the adoption of the budget, the transfer of funds, gifts, grants, and bequests, as we're having a lot of online fundraising campaigns. So we had just a lot of good discussions, and that will be carrying forth to the next meeting. A lot of changes that weren't finalized that were tabled to our next meeting, which actually will be on Tuesday, November 19th at 5:30.
Yeah. I saw that.
Those invites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were given the opportunity to read, and we did read one of the books that's in the If You Love It, Teach It program. And I mean, that was great, and his presentation was awesome. But I just wanted to thank you guys for putting all the time and the work in, because it's monumental. Thank you. So liaison reports, joint facilities.
Scheduled for this Thursday.
Can I just add, the last joint facilities meeting was canceled because pending further conversation between Donald Nunes and Mr. Macchio. And then now we're having one this week, and I looked at the agenda, so.
I didn't look at the agenda yet.
We're approving an invoice for Alcorn. I
Yes,
believe.
yeah.
All right. JFK Building Committee.
Kathy forwarded the notes from their last meeting, and we'll do the same their next meeting,
All right. Joint Security.
November 8th.
November 8th. Okay. Enfield Mental Health Committee.
We met on October 9th and discussed what we as a committee would like to focus on in regards to the mental health and wellness being of our students. So therefore, our next meeting will be October 30th, and we are hoping to have a presentation given by David White, who will give us an update on the trauma-based professional development for our Enfield teachers.
School reports and updates. Who would like to go? Mr. Colbert?
Just some quick information about Barnard, and again, this does apply to the district. So parent-teacher fall conferences are being scheduled for November. The link to schedule that is on the Parent Square app, or if you don't have the app, through the messages, as we got that presentation last month. And I also just want to highlight the Barnard PTO Trunk or Treat will be held Tuesday, October 29th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Enfield High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Callahan?
Just a very brief update on KITE. As you know, KITE had a memorable annual meeting with guest speakers, Speaker Congressman Joe Courtney. Representatives from multiple sectors of our community came together to celebrate early education and early care achievements and to focus on the coming year. Erin Grimes, the social service lead parent educator of the Family Resource Center, received the Children's Champion Award. And also Marlene Cianci won the Lisa Foy Dupuy Excellence in Early Education Award. With respect to Head Start, 28 of the revised Head Start standards were up for consideration yesterday, and all of them were met successfully. Thank you.
Great. Ms. Cushman?
Just as a reminder for parents to mark their calendars for November 4th, Trooper First Class Officer James White, the statewide DARE coordinator, will be coming to the Enfield Public Schools again next month. He will visit the 5th grade classes at Parkman, but also at Eli Whitney and Prudence Crandall for a social media presentation. And additionally, on the evening of November 4th, he will offer an engaging and informative social media presentation for all parents, guardians, and caregivers of pre-K through 12th grade students. I also just wanted to remind parents that to check the Parent Square for announcements, but also wanted to encourage them to specifically look for the guidelines that are offered by the leadership at the school regarding the spirit wear and costumes, as well as any treats that families wish to send to school at the end of the month. Thank you.
Ms. Cushman? The presentation that's available for all families Is that also on the 4th?
Yes,
And where is that, JFK?
it's at JFK.
Okay.
Yep. But specifically during the day, it's for the 5th grade classes.
Right. I was just wondering about the public one. Thank you.
Would like to go next?
I would.
Ms. Acree? Oh. You want to go next?
The students have really enjoyed the beautiful weather over the last week. On Friday, Crandall participated in Pink Out Day. It was amazing to see how Crandall and the Enfield Public Schools come together to support a great cause. As a district, we raised approximately $4,000. If you ordered butter braids, the pickup will take place at Prudence Crandall on October 23rd, tomorrow, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. The Crandall Barnard Trunk or Treat will take place on Tuesday, October 29th, from 6 to 8 at Enfield High School. Crandall will hold their first annual Veterans Day Assembly on Tuesday, November 12th. We are looking forward to honoring our veterans. If any student would like to recognize a veteran, please fill out the blue form that was sent home. And if you need another form, please contact the office. Another date for Crandall, October 31st, is Crandall's Spirit Day, celebrated during the Pride Assembly. And the students can wear costumes or sports colors, have crazy hair, crazy socks, etc. Just that there will not be allowed any masks or accessories like weapons and so on. Thank you.
Mr. Ryder.
So a couple updates from Eli Whitney. Fall Picture Day is tomorrow. And the Eli Whitney HMS Trunk or Treat is Monday, October 28th at 5 o'clock. And that it's going to take place in the parking lot at EHS. We are still collecting candy and small non-candy items. All donations greatly appreciated. And that's at either school. Fall Spirit Week is next week at Eli Whitney. Students will be allowed to wear costumes to school on Halloween. Please make sure they're school appropriate, and obviously no masks, blow-ups, etc. Aforementioned items. And the Fall Spirit Week at Fall Spirit Week at Eli Whitney, they're doing the same at HMS. So I added the flyer and all the notes to the Whitney page of enfieldpto.com/Whitney, and I'll add them to enfieldpto.com/HMS this evening. So you'll have that as well. Also for Whitney, tomorrow is the last day to order popcorn for our Poppin' Popcorn fundraiser. We have surpassed our goals, but any additional orders that come in and are due by tomorrow are greatly appreciated, and we want to thank everybody who's participated so far. That's all we have for this week.
Okay, I wanted to add, tomorrow night is the Buzz Robotics Pasta Dinner fundraiser at the Enfield High Cafeteria. They will also have raffles there. It starts at 5 o'clock, I believe. I attended CREC Council again on Wednesday, the 16th of October. It was a very slow meeting, agonizingly painful to sit through, but they said on the legislative update, be on the lookout for multiple changes to education bills and legislation in this next session. Those were the most important things that came out of that one. And then Hazardville Memorial Kindergarten went to Brown's Harvest and went on some hay rides and pumpkins and a corn maze. On Friday, obviously it was Pink Out Day, but they also had a jogathon, which raised over $7,000 to support PTO events, which I thought was amazing. Tomorrow is their book fair at 5:30, and then they have literacy night right after at 6. So grab a good book and go play some cool literacy games. There are trunk or treats on Monday from 5 to 6 at the Enfield High parking lot. They still need more donations of either trunks or treats, and there's a link in Parent Square to sign up for that. Also, don't forget to sign up for parent-teacher conferences, and there's also a link and a QR code on Parent Square for that. Okay. All right, next up, approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the regular Board of Ed meeting minutes of October 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Blank, seconded by Ms. Cushman. Is there discussion on the minutes? Sensing none. Show of hands in favor. Okay, 8 in favor, 1 absent. Okay. Approval of accounts and payroll.
There are no action items for tonight.
Perfect. Mr. Ryder, do you have correspondence and communications?
Nothing that hasn't been already included in our packet. Thank you, Kathy.
Miss Chairwoman Riley, I will just add, I emailed the Republican caucus of the board these 2 presentations that I spoke about tonight, just in case you guys didn't have them. They were down below in your inbox, just so that you guys could have them. So,
Thank you very much. All right. Is there a need for executive session? No. Okay. Then I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Ms.
second.
Culver,
I'll take the second.
seconded by Ms. Pickett. Show of hands in favor. 8 in favor, none against. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. And be careful on Halloween
Yes, happy
night,
Halloween.
please.